Palm Sunday is messed up, man. That was what a friend of mine in Boston used to say. He suffered from bipolar disorder, and he would say, Palm Sunday is like me, manic and depressive, all rolled up in one skin. Palm Sunday is messed up like me. I know what he meant. As liturgical observations go, Palm Sunday can make you wonder, is this a Mardi Gras parade or a funeral procession? Are we supposed to be happy or sad, hopeful or dubious, feel victorious or terrified? This traditional service always begins with such joy, and then it takes a turn for the worse. No sooner have we begun with a celebratory procession, waving palms and proclaiming that the Messiah is here to save us, then we begin focusing on the darkness and struggle ahead as together we read the Passion narrative. The tradition calls for both celebrating in the streets and the reading of Psalm 22. My God, why have you forsaken me? My friend had a point. Either Palm Sunday is a really bad party, or it's an invitation to something more profound. I think it's an invitation to something more profound. In fact, I think it is an invitation to not leave yourself behind. Palm Sunday was never meant to be someone else's party, you know, as if you crashed a wedding and had no real relationship to the people around you, no shared story. Quite the contrary. I think my friend owned this as his story because it was his story. More than any other time in the church year, he felt Palm Sunday was his service because it represented his life. It spoke to him. It spoke for him. He could relate to it. His life was like a county shifting back and forth from purple to red to orange and back to purple again. And if we are not quite sure if we should be hopeful or cautious, happy or sad, disciplined or free-spirited, maybe Palm Sunday is just what we need. What my friend taught me was that we all have a passion narrative. We all have a story. That is to say, we may not be facing down the Roman Empire or fear a literal crucifixion, but we do know what it is like to have our souls nailed to a cross, to feel abandoned, and maybe even betrayed. Like Jesus, we too ask God to take this cup from us, and we too might ask why God is forsaking us. There are times in the loneliness of the night when everyone else seems to be having sweet dreams, when we find ourselves in our own Garden of Gethsemane, unable to sleep, feeling like the weight of the world is on our shoulders. Palm Sunday is an invitation to bring yourself along this ride we call Holy Week, to realize it's your story, a story that must be recounted, retold, and embraced as fully yours. Holy Week is about offering your story to God and bringing it with you through Good Friday so that your story might also arrive at Easter. So what's your story? I know Jesus' story, but what's yours? There's no doubt that we live in a culture that loves hearing good news as long as it doesn't require courageous, even painful sacrifice on our part. We would rather leave the past behind us and not make any reparations for injustices to ourselves or others. That would be too messy. Palm Sunday invites us to remember that we have to go through Good Friday to get to Easter. The invitation is to delve deeply into our story, the story of our people, the story of our country, the story of this world, to not leave any part of our story behind, but know that even the most painful chapters, let me rephrase that, especially the painful chapters of your story, are not only welcome in the procession towards Easter, but absolutely necessary. I've been humbled over the last several weeks as I have heard profoundly painful stories from some of our Asian members. The recent acts of racial hatred expressed against the Asian community has stirred deep pain and prompted the return of horrific memories that had found a way to silently lurk like a sleeping dog in the corner of their souls. No longer. Parents again fear for their children, and their passion narrative must be told again and again if they are to find healing, justice, understanding, and renewed connection to the beloved community. As a community, we must read and inwardly digest their passion narratives, just as we have been seeking to read the passion narratives of African Americans. Palm Sunday models for us the importance of immersing ourselves in passion narratives. We need to open our hearts and listen, read, and inwardly digest these narratives. But how easy it is to apply this to others, when I myself am like a Vegas magician when it comes to hiding my pain, misdirecting the audience away from the real action behind the scene of my life. Instead of abracadabra, my sleight of hand uses the incantation, "I'm fine." You want to know why you are crabby, irritated, tired, frustrated, angry, depressed? It may be because you have abandoned your own passion narrative. Every human being on this planet has a passion narrative filled with broken relationships, delayed promises, intense anxieties, betrayals, shattered dreams, and profound grief. We need to stop pretending that we are not hurting. Here's a question. When was the last time you cried? We have to let the tears in our own story emerge before we can meet the tears of others. Find a space where you can let the full impact of this last year collide with you head on. Find a time to consider your own passion narrative, your own story. Tears have a way of lubricating compassion, and compassion always has a way of prompting us to action. Take your story off the shelf. Blow off the dust and begin to read it and contemplate it anew. Take it with you to the cross so that it can experience the resurrection. Paying attention to your passion narrative empowers us to enter the narratives of others. Maybe then, when we hear of children at the border, children who are simply running away from violence, maybe then we will see our children in their faces and find a way to act. This week, as I watched a video of a frightened child taking out a baseball cap from his pocket to show to the border patrol guard, tears came to my eyes. On that baseball cap, someone had written a phone number of a relative in the United States, hoping that someone would call this number so that someone would claim this child as their own. When we grieve, the grief of the world finds a way into our souls. We see our phone number on that hat, and we welcome that call that will ignite our compassion and service to others. Visiting our passion narrative makes us passionate for justice and fills our hearts with compassion. So what's your story? Will you commit to revisit it, share it, and entrust it to those who you love and trust? It's going to be messy. At times it will feel manic, and at times depressive. So what? Be messed up. God knows we're messed up. In fact, God came to get messed up with us. That's the story, and that's the promise that will lead us to the Easter we so desperately need. Amen.